Hi again. I'm about to do another shopping comparison between the UK and Portugal, this time between two Lidl stores. And yes, I'm at work again, but I'm just taking a break, so I'm going to quickly do this. I found this one quite interesting, so have a look and see what you think. Oh, and I just want to add, this isn't an across-the-board comparison of sort of everything that people buy in supermarkets. There's actually an awful lot that a lot of people buy in supermarkets that I don't. So basically it's things that I would normally buy if I was zapping around a supermarket, and if I was getting fruit and vegetables in the supermarket as well, rather than at a market. Okay, so I've done this in two sections, and you will see why, I hope, once we get going. So what I did was go round a Lidl in Portugal in a town called Lousã, which is in the Coimbra region, and then I went round to my local Lidl in Worthing, which is on the south coast of England. Now this top section is everything I bought that is not fruit and vegetables. So for Portugal here we've got the euro price and then the conversion into sterling, which obviously fluctuates day by day, but it's pretty stable at the moment. Doesn't go a long way off, from one day to the next. And also where I bought something that was very different in size, I've made the appropriate adjustments. It was interesting with tea bags. In the Lidl in Portugal, box of 50 was the biggest they had. And in the UK one, 240 was the smallest they had. So I've adjusted that price as if it was 50. It would actually be a bit more than that, because generally if you buy smaller packs you would pay more per item, so there's probably not a huge amount of difference. If you adjusted it, if I'd been able to buy 50 bags here, it probably wouldn't have been very much different. Coffee, quite a bit cheaper in Portugal. The Portuguese do love their coffee, and that's ground coffee for a cafetiere, which is what I use. So yeah, quite a big difference there, almost £1 over the cost of a bag. Butter, not a huge amount of difference. Eggs, similar-ish. Now, olives was interesting. These are jars of olives, and they were the ones with pimento in them. So in Portugal, which produce olives, 210 grams for a jar was £1.37. 89 pence for 340 grams. That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Tin of sardines, quite a bit cheaper in the UK. Milk, I could not find fresh milk in the Portugal one. So this is the long life stuff and full fat, because that's what I usually buy, equivalent of 86 pence. Whereas in Lidl in Worthing, they didn't have any full fat long life milk. So I had to get semi-skimmed, a bit cheaper in Portugal. Now, the big difference was with frozen salmon fillets, which is something I do buy regularly. The pack was sold by weight. Oh no, it wasn't. It was sold as 5 fillets, but that was around 600 grams. And in the UK it was 400 grams. So again, I've adjusted the price as if that was 600 grams, which gives me £5.68, almost double in Portugal. We both have an Atlantic coast, and they're supposedly wild salmon, definitely sea from, wild salmon, I guess. Now, if I'm buying frozen salmon here, I get in Waitrose Dutchy Organic, and 2 fillets would cost me around £8, I think it is now. So that's definitely very cheap, but a heck of a big difference. So leaving the salmon in, my total for non-fruit and veg shopping in Portugal was the equivalent of £20.77. And here in the UK, £16.63. Now, I would have expected those to be the other way round. So then I thought I'd take out the salmon because that makes quite a big difference. And it brought it down to the equivalent of £10.43 for Portugal and £10.95 for England. So for these items, which are things that I buy regularly most weeks, it's almost identical. That was quite a surprise. So now let's have a look at fruit and veg and then put the whole lot together. So fruit and veg, I would hope to buy mainly in the markets. I think most towns have the Mercado Municipal, and would expect that it'll be quite a bit cheaper there. Although here, of course, if you buy fruit and veg at a farmer's market, it's usually more expensive than the supermarket. So I guess that's sort of another comparison that I can aim to make another time. So same thing here, price in euros, conversion into sterling. So it's a bit of a mess over there, but your UK prices and then any adjustments. Now, most of these items were sold loose, so they were priced per kilo, whereas in Lidl in the UK here, some of them were packaged, so where they are I've basically made the adjustment. And of course, well, certainly if, like me, you're only shopping for one person, you wouldn't be buying a kilo of all these. But because it's like with like, the principle's the same, it's comparing them. So, you know, wouldn't be spending this amount of money on fruit and veg every week on my own. But the comparison is there, so the comparison still works. So here we go. Carrots, a kilo, 94p, whereas that's in Portugal. UK, 69p. I don't know. I mean, we do grow a lot of carrots if they're local. Of these, that's the other thing. I think pretty much all of this, most of it was local produce, so it's not imported. Where probably for us, you know, in the UK, a lot of this is imported. So yeah, big difference there. Onions, £1.89 for a kilo. This is red onions, and 95p for a kilo here. Again, that's surprising. Garlic was the pack that they had was 250 grams, equivalent of £1.55. One clove was coming in at 37 pence. I reckon that one clove is sort of about 50 grams, so 250 equivalent would be £1.85, so a bit more. Courgettes, that's one that, you know, was more like you'd expect, £1.51. In Portugal, £2.78 here, because we do import them. They're probably from Spain. I didn't actually look. Cucumbers, I'm not sure. I think 300 grams is about one cucumber anyway. I'm not sure. £1.29, quite a bit cheaper in the UK. Red peppers, a kilo, the equivalent of £2.32. They were priced individually here, but I reckon that a kilo worked out at about £3.79. So quite a bit more expensive. That seems, you know, more what you'd expect. Local tomatoes, £1.63 for a kilo. And I think those were like cherry tomatoes, that sort of size. So I've did a comparison there because they came in packs of 325 grams, which I reckon worked out at about £3.05 for a kilo. Lettuce was price per kilo. So I worked out that for one, so sort of it was the sort of rosso type lettuce, which is what I priced in Lidl's in the UK. I do keep saying got or bought. I didn't actually buy. This was just going around doing a comparison of prices because I wasn't actually shopping, given that I was only there for 5 days. I wasn't going to need all this. So yeah, where was I? I reckon that for one lettuce that was about 99 cents. 99. I haven't converted that to pence, have I? Around about 80 maybe. Not sure. Yeah, about 80p probably. And one lettuce here was 45p. I don't know. I mean, we grow plenty of lettuce. I don't know whether I think this was local. Cherries for a kilo, equivalent of £8.65, which is pretty extortionate. I know one of the guys who was staying in the same guest house as me, he came in with 2 kilo box that he'd got from the roadside from somebody for €5, I think. The cherries that were in the Lidl here were in a pack of 200, so the equivalent is £7.95. Now that does not make a lot of sense because Portugal produce a lot of cherries up around Fundão, Sierra da Estrela, massive cherry growing regions. So why on earth are they more expensive? I mean, yes, we do grow cherries, but our cherry season and harvest is nothing like what they have in Portugal. Blueberries came in at, again, more expensive in Portugal. And again, they grow a lot more blueberries than, I don't think do we grow blueberries here? I don't know. Raspberries I've crossed out because I couldn't actually get any. Avocados, 700 grams. Now, I've just weighed some avocados that I've bought today, and I reckon 700 grams is probably actually about, was it 2 or 4, 3? I can't remember now. Oh, whoops, I've completely forgotten whether, I think 700 grams. Yes, yeah, 700 grams actually is round about 4 avocados. Sorry, excuse that brain blip. And again, this is ridiculous. A pack that Lidl have got, and we're talking comparing Lidl with Lidl, a pack that Lidl have got, 99 pence. We don't grow avocados. In Portugal they do, and a lot are grown in Spain, so even if they're imported, they're not far. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So that came to, oh yes, I've adjusted that because I realised that I hadn't adjusted the lettuce for one. I'd just converted that, so about 80p, I think. So again, that's slightly more than it should be because I reckon that €99 is probably about 80 pence. So I need to take 19 pence off that, so make that 25.20. 25.20 as opposed to 24.59. Not a lot in it, but fractionally more in Portugal. So putting the whole lot together, you get the equivalent of £46.16. I hope this is still in shot. Yes, I think it is. The equivalent of £46.16, that's including the salmon for Portugal, against £41.22, including the salmon. So more in Portugal. If you take out the salmon, it's still I was going to say what I bought, but again, I didn't buy. I compared prices. But if I'd bought, that would still be the equivalent of £35.73 in Portugal, as opposed to £30.27 in England. Okay. Now, I think that's really surprising. Have prices in Portugal gone up so much that actually in the supermarkets you're paying the same as you would in the UK? Now, somebody said to me, and I can't remember if it was someone I was talking to when I was in Coimbra, or whether it was somebody who left a comment on my last video. I apologise if it was, I can't remember who it was, said that Lidl and Aldi standardize their prices across all the countries, including the UK. So they standardize their prices against, you know, between Portugal and England. I don't know if that's correct. I don't know if you agree or dispute that. Let me know in the comments. So that, you know, in that case, you're going to be sort of shopping around trying to find the cheapest supermarket, not knowing, you know, what to compare it with, I guess. Which is sort of what I did with my first comparison video when I was up in the north, near Amarante. It was just the supermarket that happened to be the one that I found in the nearest town, compared with my regular supermarket here, which is Waitrose. So I don't know, maybe that was more of a realistic comparison. Go back and have a look at that one if you haven't seen it. It was back in February. I don't know. My theory though is that for things like the fruit and veg, the big supermarket chains here in England have a stranglehold on the farmers, which is why farming is really struggling, because they demand such low prices from the farmers that they can barely exist, so that prices are artificially low. And that would make sense, you know, which is why the prices are comparable. Doesn't explain, you know, the non-fruit and veg items, which seem to be very similar. I don't know. What I would deduce would be that prices have gone up a hell of a lot in Portugal, and it sure as heck ain't any cheaper to live there. I really don't know. I've seen quite frequently people saying that doing their supermarket shop, and again, I just have to say, of course, the disclaimer that I wasn't buying cleaning products, toiletries, anything like that, because I don't buy those things from supermarkets. So if you factor in all that sort of stuff, I've seen a few people saying that for a couple, they spend about €400 a month on their total supermarket shop. And I think it was last week, Susie from Lidl Portugal said, in response to I think my last video, which was the Aldi one, that for one person she spends about 200, and now that it's her and George, about 400. So that seems to be a sort of ballpark figure. And I don't really know what I spend, because I buy a lot of stuff sort of direct, you know, so it comes in, you know, low impact little cardboard packages, cuts out the middleman, you know, all that sort of stuff. I don't know how I would work out a comparison. It would be quite complicated. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts. Bye.